Hello, hello. So, Macro Basics Workshop. Welcome. If you are watching this replay, you missed last night's live call, and unfortunately, I had some technical difficulties and the recording stopped after about 5 minutes into the call. So, I don't have the live replay for you to watch, but I am going to record the entire workshop for you guys who are wanting the replay link. Like I said, my main goal for this workshop was to educate as many people possible about macros and how they can benefit your lives. And so I am just going to redo this for you guys. Like I said, gotta love technology, but let's go ahead and just jump into it, making sure it's recording. And I'm going to share my screen to get the presentation up for you so that you can see the slides. The slides will also be sent to you. And let's get going. So first things first, who am I? For those of you who don't know me, let's get this going. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Giselle. I am a mom to two little boys. This is Aiden, he's 9, and Jax, he is 4. Married to my husband of 12 years, whom I met at Chico State, where I got my bachelor's degree in education. So I was a teacher before I became a health and fitness coach. I taught second grade for 6 years. And then when I became a stay-at-home mom, I realized that I didn't necessarily want to go back to the classroom, but I wanted to continue to educate others, and my passion was in health and fitness, so that's kind of where it led me. While I've always been super passionate about health and fitness, I haven't always been as responsible and haven't always made the best choices with health and fitness. So unfortunately, I spent many years yo-yo dieting and just dealing with eating disorders and orthorexia and body dysformation, body dysphoria, and just all kinds of different issues. And I didn't realize how negative of an effect they would have on my body for the long run. And once we started trying to get pregnant with our second child, about 2 years after having our first, I learned all of those things that I did, all of those behaviors that I had when I was younger. I learned the toll that it took on my body. I had secondary infertility from mostly from hypothalamic amenorrhea, which means that I did not have a period because I was over exercising and under eating. So I dove into nutrition education and learned all the ways that I could really heal my body. And it was a very long journey. And eventually we did get pregnant and have our second child. And through that journey, I also discovered macros. And that is what completely changed my life, completely changed my eating habits and my behaviors with my relationship with food. With macro tracking, I no longer eliminate full food groups. I am no longer like severely restricting calories. I know now that there are no good and bad foods. I drink wine when I want to drink wine. I eat pizza when I want to eat pizza. I eat chocolate when I want to eat chocolate. I live my life healthy and balanced, and enjoy all the foods that I want to enjoy by tracking macronutrients. And I have helped hundreds of women to do the same thing through coaching, through my Macro Way Bootcamp and through one-on-one coaching. And that's what I want to kickstart for you guys today and help to educate you on macro tracking. So let's talk about that, shall we? So what are macros? So macros are what makes up foods. We think macro means big. So macros are the big parts of the foods that we eat, mainly fat, protein, and carbohydrates. So all of the foods that we are putting into our body have at least one of these macros in it. Some foods have more than one, some foods have just one. Regardless, they all have at least one of them in it. And each macro has a different amount of calories per gram. So protein is 4 grams per calorie, fat is 9 grams per calorie, and carbs is 4 grams per calorie. So when we look at a nutrition label, and you can look at this label here and see that this food has 150 calories. Now the fat, the carbohydrates, and the proteins are what makes up those calories. So in order to find out how many calories a specific food has, looking at the macronutrients, we multiply 8 grams times 9 for fat, which is 72 fat calories, 12 grams times 4 for carbs, and 8 grams times 4 for protein. So we take those fat, carbohydrate, and protein calories and we add them up over here. You can see 72 plus 48 plus 32 equals 152 calories. So does that equal 150 calories? No. And this is kind of a discrepancy that we see with nutrition labels. And this is why, one of the reasons why counting macros is better than counting calories, because the FDA allows a estimation within 10. So you can round up or down 10 calories on the food label. So that's just one reason. We'll, like I said, we'll talk a few more reasons about why macros wins over calorie tracking. So like I said, foods aren't typically just one macro. They're typically made up of different macros. So you might have a food that's protein and carbs, or protein and fats, or carbs and fats, or all three macros. When we look at some specific foods, for examples, we look at black beans. Black beans are made up of protein and carbs. But if you're only looking at black beans as a protein source, you might not even realize that you're getting a very high amount of carbs as well. Chicken thighs are a great protein source, yes, but they also have a high fat content. So if you're only using chicken thighs as a protein source, you might not realize that your fat is also going to be super high. Same with peanut butter or nuts, a common one that people use to try to get in more protein, but in reality, peanut butter or nuts are mostly fat. And so they have very little protein in them when you're looking at the full serving size. So you're going to get a high content of fat and not as much protein. And then of course, donuts, carbs and fat. So you just want to make sure to know what the foods are made of that you're eating in order to help you to keep your macros in balance. So let's dive into protein. So protein is an essential macronutrient, meaning that your body must have it in order to survive. Carbohydrates you can actually do without. Your body doesn't function at its most optimal state, but protein you absolutely necessarily have to have in order to survive. So there are lots of different roles of protein in the body. A few specific ones are that protein helps to build. They're the building blocks of bones, muscles, cartilage, and your skin. Protein helps to repair. So when you're going to the gym and you're working out and you're tearing your muscles, you need protein in order to repair those muscles and build them up so you gain strength. It helps to supply your entire body with nutrients it needs by carrying oxygen to your blood. It helps to make enzymes, which aids in digestion. That's a huge one. And it also helps to regulate your hormones, which for women especially, this is super important that we are keeping tabs on our hormone regulation and making sure we have optimal hormonal balance. So as far as protein goals, they're going to vary based on the individual. So if your goal is to build muscle and to shed fat, you might have a higher protein goal. If your goal is to maybe just lose weight overall, you're starting at a higher body fat and maybe you don't need to focus right away on building muscle, you might start at a lower protein goal. If you are a vegetarian, you might start at a lower protein goal than if you are a meat eater, because it's going to be easier for you to get in meat. Typically, in my Macroway Bootcamp and when I'm working one-on-one with a client, I calculate all of your macros for you. So it takes out that process of having to figure out exactly how much you need to eat. I do that all for you. That's what I'm trained in. And when I'm calculating the protein goal, I typically calculate around 0.8 to 0.1 grams per pound. So that means that if you are 150 pounds and your goal is to gain muscle, then you're probably going to be about 150 grams of of protein a day. Again, like I said, it varies based on your specific goals. But in general, it's great to try to get in 3 to 6 ounces of protein with each meal to help meet your protein goals. So, like I said, protein is kind of one of those that we struggle with a little bit. Women especially struggle with getting in enough protein. And this is mainly because carbs and fats are just more easily readily available. It's easier to get in, carbs through breads and pastas and rice and grains and sandwiches and all those things and fats, but protein's a little bit more of a struggle to eat. So it does take a little bit more effort to hit your protein, but it definitely can be done. And it gets easier and easier the more you just focus on including more protein in your diet. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick example of what it might look like to get 120 grams of protein in with whole foods. I mean, I always encourage whole foods first before supplementing with anything else. So for example, for 120 grams, that might mean at breakfast you have a slice of bacon plus 4 egg whites, so scrambled egg whites and bacon. And this does not include carbs and fats, so this is just the protein. For a snack, you might have some non-fat Greek yogurt, which is very high in protein, 4 ounces of grilled chicken on a salad maybe. Another snack might be some jerky, and then 5 ounces of fish at dinner with your other food, your other carbs and your fats. So that's going to be around 129 grams of protein for the day, which is great. So you can see just kind of including it with every meal or having a little bit more with your main meals can help to get in the protein that you need. And if you do struggle with it, just start lower and gradually increase as you go. So let's talk about carbs. Carbs are kind of a controversial topic because a lot of people think that you can survive without carbs, you can be fine without carbs, you can go low carb forever and be totally fine. Unfortunately, that's not typically the case. While that works for some people, and it might work at first, especially to cut carbs out at first, and you might see some rapid weight loss, it's not sustainable, and your body will feel the negative effects of going low carb for too long if you stay low carb, especially if you're an active woman. Active women definitely need carbohydrates, and that's because carbs are our body's first source of energy. So when we eat carbohydrates, they are converted into glycogen, which provides energy to our body, the number one source of energy. So we're not going to get our carbs from proteins. Fats are going to be our secondary source. So we're always going to go to carbs first. So carbs also help to fuel your brain, your kidney, your heart muscles, your central nervous system. They aid in digestion and they help to keep you full, and it keeps your blood cholesterol levels in check. And so I want you to think about if you were to never eat carbs again. And that means like going low carb can mean like cutting out everything like your vegetables, your fruits, your dried fruits, your smoothies, things like that. And that's going to be very challenging for the long term. I'm sure you can do it for a little while, but that's what I mean when I say it's not sustainable. To do it for a long time, to never have pizza or hamburgers or things like that that you really might like to have, candy, those types of foods, it's not very sustainable. And sustainability is key to a long-lasting nutrition plan. And that's why I feel like carbs should be included in the diet. When you work with me one-on-one or in my boot camps, we often talk about going into carb cycling, where we vary high carb and low carb days. So you still get some of the benefits of going low carb because there are some benefits to it, but you don't stay low carb too long. And that helps your body to not go into metabolic adaptation, to have hormone disruption, and a plethora of other issues that come along with low carb. So that high and low carb is something that we discuss when we work together, and something that we do. So as far as your intake of carbohydrates, it's typically around 30 to 50% of your daily calorie intake. And the way I calculate it with my clients, I typically calculate the protein and the fat first, and then the remaining calories are the carbohydrates. So again, it's another one that's very dependent on your specific goals, but definitely want to keep it around 30 to 50%. So there are two different types of carbs. There's simple carbs and there are complex carbs. And a lot of times most people think of carbs like the breads and the pastas and the chips and the cookies and the sugary candy and cokes and things like that. But carbs are also the vegetables and the fruits and all of those fibrous foods that we eat. And those are the type of carbs that we want to focus on the most. This is because simple sugars and simple carbs are easily digested by our body. So they go really, really quick. These are the foods that are going to give us quick energy, but they're not going to give us long-term energy. They typically are lower in nutrients, and they tend to spike our blood sugar, which is kind of like a roller coaster. So our blood sugar spikes when we have those simple carbs, and then it dips back down and we crave more of them. So we have them again, up and down, up and down. So if you've ever been through a day where you're like up really high and then dip down low, up really high, dip down low, it's probably because you're having too many simple carbs. So the focus should be on complex carbs. They supply longer lasting energy. They are found in more nutrient dense foods. They provide sustained energy, and they help to aid in fat loss. So let's talk about fats now. So fat is another one that can be controversial. There's a lot of people who feel like the keto diet or a very high fat, low carb diet is best for losing weight. And again, while that can help you to lose weight, or maybe it can help with other health issues if you've been prescribed it by a doctor, it's just not a very sustainable lifestyle. And it's something that is going to be very hard to maintain for the long run. So fats are definitely needed. On the flip side of going too high, a lot of times we go too low. And if you're like me, you may have lived through like the Olestra chips where it was low fat, everything low fat, and that can do some severe damage to your body. So fat is very, very necessary for hormone health, especially, and it's mostly in women. Women definitely need a good amount of fat in their diets. It helps to give your body energy and support cell growth. So fat is your secondary source of energy. So if you do not have enough carbohydrates to supply your body with energy, then your body's going to look for fat for energy sources. It helps to protect your organs and keep your body warm, and it helps to absorb nutrients into your body. So fat is definitely an essential nutrient that you should be getting. Like I already talked about, it's 9 grams per calorie, so it does add up quickly. So it's a good idea to follow a general rule of thumb that fats should be about thumb size when you're planning your meals, with the exception of things like avocados, in which you could have a little bit more of a serving of avocado. But do you know that a whole serving of avocado is going to be quite a bit of fat, could be your fat content for the day. So it's just a good idea to know how much fat content is in the serving of whatever you're eating. That's one way that tracking your macros is beneficial, because you know exactly how much fat you're getting in each particular food. As far as the intake level of fat, I typically set everybody around 30%, never any lower than 30%, never any lower than 50 grams of fat typically. So micronutrients, what are micronutrients? These are the smaller, like the little sister to macros. Macros are needed in large quantities, micros are needed in smaller quantities, but they are still essential. So these are the things like all of the vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals that are essential for maintaining good health. And you can easily get your macros in from any type of food. Like you can go any type of restaurant if you want. You can go to McDonald's and order a burger and fries and get your macros in. You would get protein from the burger, you could get your carbs from the bun and the fries, and fat from it all, right? You can get your macros in, but you're going to be missing the essential micronutrients in that meal, the vitamins and the minerals, the things that are really going to help to benefit your body. So that's why I always encourage whole food groups first, eating whole foods, like all of the vegetables, the proteins, the beans, the seeds, the nuts, all of it, and to keeping that diet very well balanced. Then if you are still unable to get in whole food groups, then to supplement. So a lot of times we reach for supplements first, and I firmly believe that reaching for whole foods first can do our bodies much more better than if we're just reaching for supplements. So don't forget about those micronutrients. So let's talk about tracking. So what exactly is macro tracking? Macro tracking refers to the process of adding up all of your macros in your food throughout the day to make sure you're eating in balance or in according to a ratio that works best for you and your specific goals. So as far as macro tracking, when you work with me, I calculate everything for you. I give you a set amount of macros to eat for each day. Typically, they're the same every single day, unless we've been together for a while, in which case we move into carb cycling and your calories, your macros might vary. But for the most part, you have a baseline calorie intake and macro balance. So that might mean that you get 150 grams of carbs, 130 grams of protein, and 55 grams of fat. Those are going to be your goals for the day that you are trying to eat. And throughout the day, you're going to build your meals around those goals. So let's say for breakfast, you have a meal that is about 20 grams of protein and 30 grams of carbs and 5 grams of fat. You track that into a friendly app, MyFitnessPal or another one, and then you move on to your next meal and you build upon that first meal, all to say that you're trying to get to your total macro goals for the day, and hit those each day so that your entire week has an average macro balance and an average calorie intake that helps to benefit your specific goals. So before you can start tracking your macros, you do need to know your BMR and your TDEE and your specific desired outcomes. So what is BMR and TDEE? So your BMR is something that you may have heard before. It's your basal metabolic rate. And this is basically the rate at which your body uses energy when you're at rest. So the calories you need in order to survive, in order to just lay there in bed all day and do nothing or watch Netflix. So the minimum calories you need without any activity level. Your TDEE is the amount of energy that you need to carry out your physical function. So these are your calories plus your activity, your exercising, your digesting foods, all of the things that you're doing during the day. Then this is your total number of calories you burn. So a lot of times people find out their BMR and they think, well, I want to lose weight, so I'm just going to eat that amount of calories. And that can do a huge amount of damage to our body because eating at your BMR, even below your BMR, is going to cause you to go into metabolic adaptation. And this means that your metabolism is functioning at the bare minimum. So it's just going to be running at like a low hum. It doesn't need to do any more work because you're only supplying it with a certain amount of energy, the bare minimum amount of energy. So it's not going to put energy in towards burning fat because it's using all of the energy it can to just keeping your body alive. So we never want to eat at our BMR or below our BMR. We always want to eat above it. Now, if you are looking to maintain weight, you would eat at your TDEE. If you're looking to lose weight, you might eat below your TDEE about 10 to 20%. And if you're looking to gain muscle, you might eat above your TDEE at 10 to 20%. So that means if your TDEE was, let's say your BMR was 1500, and then you multiply your activity level. And again, I do all of this for you in the boot camp and when working with me. And so it's based all on your individual, your day-to-day life, your exercise, everything that you're doing. And you multiply it by a specific activity level, and that gives you your TDEE. Let's say your TDEE is 1850. You take that and you would multiply it by the rate of fat loss you're looking. So maybe if you're already lean, you would do a lower rate, so 10%. If you have a little bit more weight to lose, you might do a higher rate at 20%. And that's going to give you your deficit calories. And from there is where I calculate your very specific macros. So you can see why it's better to have somebody calculate it for you than to just use an online calculator, because the online calculator is just doing surface level things. It's not looking at your lifestyle. It's not looking at if you're a busy mom or working a high stress job or getting 4 hours of sleep. I take all of those things into consideration when calculating an individual's macros. So how do you track? So after you know your deficit calories and your macros, you put them into MyFitnessPal. And I personally prefer MyFitnessPal over any other food tracking apps because it has the most extensive database. And I find it to be the most user-friendly. It has a scan feature, so you can scan barcodes. It has a very wide database as far as restaurant meals and things like that. So I always recommend MyFitnessPal. If you are not up to using a food tracker or a phone or an online app, you can also just build your meals around proteins, fats, and carbs. So just looking at a plate and saying, okay, well, I know I need about this much protein, this much carbs, and this much fat. So building your meals around that. I typically recommend, as a general rule of thumb, to do about 3 to 4 ounces of veggies, 3 to 4 ounces of complex carbs, and about 4 to 6 ounces of protein. And that's for main meals. Snacks, also make sure you're getting in a balance of all 3 macros. A lot of times with snacks, we tend to just do one, like a bag of crackers or an ounce of almonds. Make sure you're trying to do all 3 macros together, not just to help keep you on track, but it also helps your body to digest and absorb a little bit better when you eat them together. One thing about MyFitnessPal, if you are using it and you do not have somebody calculate your numbers for you, to be careful at where it sets your calories. So when you go into MyFitnessPal and you put in your information and it gives you a calories and then it asks you how much weight do you want to lose per week. And if you put in 2 pounds per week, which I will say is kind of a far stretch for most people, averages about 0.7 pounds per week, depending on how much you have to lose, it will default to 1,200 calories. And I will be honest, I have never calculated an individual's calories and where their BMR is 1,200. So if you're eating at 1,200 calories, you're most likely eating below your BMR and you're going to put yourself into metabolic adaptation. So it's not a good idea to use MyFitnessPal as far as calculating your calories. Just be careful. So why is tracking macros more effective than counting calories? So counting calories, yes, it can help you see changes on the scale. You will definitely lose weight if you are eating less calories than you are burning. It's the law of thermodynamics. But if you're looking to see not just changes in the scale, but changes in your body composition, changes in the way you feel, the way you sleep, your energy, all of those different things are going to come more so with counting macros. And the way I like to think of it is like if you were to go to a BMW dealership and you looked at the basic model of a BMW car, it would look great because it's a BMW, right? It's got, it's got everything in it that you want. Then you look at the upgraded model. And the upgraded model has the Bose stereo system. It has the souped up motor. It has the nice rims. It's tinted. It's got the all leather interior with heated seats. Personally, if there was no difference in the price, I'm going to choose the upgraded model. That's what macro tracking is. Macro tracking is the upgraded version. It's taking things to the next level. It allows you to see the quality of the foods you're putting into your body. It also helps you to ensure you're providing your body with a good balance of those nutrients. And it helps you to reach more specific goals. So if you're wanting to see changes in the weight and your body composition, then you're definitely going to want to go with macro tracking over calories. So I'll be honest with you guys, I wish I would have discovered macro tracking so many years ago, and I've heard so many clients say this exact same thing. There are just so many benefits of adapting this lifestyle, and that's what I like to consider it, a lifestyle, not a diet. I know there are lots and lots of different diets out there, but as you've heard me say throughout this presentation, that macro tracking is sustainable, and I'm huge on sustainability. I want you to be able to eat some of the foods that you want to eat without having to restrict yourself, without having to have a negative relationship with your food, without feeling deprived. That's sustainability. I don't want you to have to completely change your lifestyle in order to reach your goals. You shouldn't have to. So just a few of the benefits that macros provides. It provides a lot of nutrient density. You have a higher metabolism. It helps you to maintain muscle. So if you're losing weight, a lot of times you could be losing fat, losing muscle if you're not getting enough protein, if you're not focusing on the right balance of macronutrients. So you want to maintain lean muscle. It helps to have faster fat loss. It helps you have less restriction and less anxiety. So those are just a few things what macro tracking provides. So as you've heard me say, I love macro tracking, and I have found it to be the most beneficial way of eating for myself and for so many of my clients. And that is why I wanted to share this presentation with you. And that's why I created the Macroway Bootcamp. And what this bootcamp is a 6-week group coaching program that really educates you on macronutrients, how to track them, how to adapt them to your lifestyle, and how to make it a lifelong lifestyle that you can continue after you are done with the boot camp. So this 6-week boot camp, it's actually 7 weeks because you get a week prior to help you set up, includes personalized macronutrition customization. So I calculate your macros for you. I help to make sure that you're getting in the right amount of proteins, fats, and carbs based on your health, your activity level, your goals. It also has an option for customized workouts, which are all delivered through MyFitness app. Each of the exercises has a video. It has the capability to track your exercises, and it's just another way that I can check in with you and say, how are your workouts going? I can look at exactly how much weight you're using. They can be customized to be done at home or at the gym, so it's just a great option for workouts. It includes daily accountability, which from feedback is the number one thing that helps people to reach their goals is the daily accountability and the biweekly check-ins. So I'm checking in with your nutrition chart every single day. You get a private Facebook group with the other bootcamp members, and I post daily motivation tips, educational posts, things like that. And you have to share your nutrients chart from MyFitnessPal every single day. So I can see exactly where you're at as far as reaching your goals. Like I said, it also includes those biweekly check-ins, and those are just a super comprehensive check-in that I do with you in order to see if you're making progress. If you're not making progress, what might be affecting that? Is it your sleep? Is it your stress? Is it your activity level? Are you hitting your macros? What do we need to adjust if needed? Like I said, lots of motivation, education. It includes weekly Zoom meetings to help teach you more about nutrition. We focus on mindset and healthy living and a lot of different things that come with it. Nutrition's not the end all be all. While it's important, there are so many other aspects of an overall healthy lifestyle, and I really try to encompass all of those and educate you as best as I can on them. So, and it also includes these helpful supplemental guides. So I include a meal planning guide, all PDF printables, grocery shopping guide, dining out, traveling, and more. So those are super helpful. The dining out guide especially has very specific recommendations for restaurant meals. So great resources. So unfortunately, my next round is not January 11th, but it's not until January 11th, but January is going to be here so soon. And it actually starts the week prior to January 11th with the prep week. But because I know that if you are like me, you already are planning out your new year, you might want to have a plan set for January. So I am offering a very discounted early bird price to you all for this boot camp. If you sign up today through November 2nd, I'm offering it at 25% off, which is the lowest I will offer this boot camp. It is a very, very good deal, especially in comparison to some of the other programs you may have seen out there. It's normally $259 for nutrition and $359 for nutrition and workouts. But for now, for you guys, it's $195 for nutrition, $270 for the VIP, which would include the workouts. That's for 7 weeks of that boot camp with the daily accountability, the biweekly check-ins, all of those things listed above that can really help you to reach your goals. So along with that, as I said, this recording did not go up as promised. So since you're getting it a day late, this offer goes today through tomorrow. If you sign up soon, like within today or tomorrow, you're going to receive a free nutrition audit. So what this includes is a very thorough questionnaire so I can learn more about you and your eating habits. I will have you track your food in MyFitnessPal so I can see what you're eating. And then we will have a 30-minute phone call to discuss your current nutrition and your goals and give you some specific recommendations on food to include or to reduce, some movement recommendations, just kind of a one-on-one nutrition counseling session, if you will, if you want to get started right now before January comes. So I know, like I said, January is a ways away, but why wait? I think we're all anticipating 2021. So why not start making a plan for success now instead of waiting until then? Now is the time to do it. So you can invest in your health today and really reap those benefits in the future. I would absolutely love to help you on your journey. So I'm going to include the link in the slides and in the email, and always feel free to message me any questions if you have any at all. That is that for today, you guys. Again, I apologize that this was not the original recording. I did have a few questions from that recording that I can address really quickly. Number one was, how challenging is macro tracking? And I will say at first, it does take a little bit to get the hang of. It's not anything that is going to be extremely challenging for the long run. Like with any new lifestyle or anything new that you adapt, it's going to be challenging at first. And what I always like to think about with challenges and tell my clients is that if challenges didn't happen and if things weren't challenging, then you wouldn't see the change. So change lives within challenge, and we have to kind of go through those challenges at first. But once you get the hang of it, and I really teach you the tricks and the tips with MyFitnessPal to help you be as successful as possible and to help you not struggle. So, and I am always right there with you in my boot camps and with my one-on-one coaching. Another question I received or got last night was in regards to one-on-one coaching. I'm currently full through November. I do have a wait list for December and January. So if you are interested in that, please feel free to reach out. It is a lot more in depth than the boot camp. The boot camp is a great way to kind of get your feet wet with macro tracking if you'd like. And the one-on-one coaching is a 12-week program, and I really dive super deep into you and your health and how we can really individualize your plan to get you to your goals. Another question I had was about my Fitness Pal and in regards if you need the premium. And I always recommend that if you don't really want to invest, it's not necessary, but it does for my one-on-one clients. I do recommend it because it does allow you that ability to do quick add and to set your calories per day when you move on to carb cycling. And if you guys have any other specific questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, I apologize for this not being the actual live recording, but hopefully you gained a lot of information from this, and I hope to have the opportunity to work with you in the future.